Hello and welcome to Breaking Bard Ew Hamlet here on twitch.tv/ live action roleplay. So, Breaking Bard series is our plays in a few scenes uh, performed in the original and then performed in an adaptation in order to make Shakespeare more accessible. So, with us today are several of our cast, as well as our director and the person who adapted Hamlet. That would be Kevin Allen. Say hi, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin. Oh, I told myself I wasn't going to start that, and then I did it
Yes,
anyway.
It's fine.
Ah,
it's a thing. It's a thing on this channel.
it's a thing, and I couldn't. It is. I couldn't be helped. Mm.
So tell us a little bit
Hi,
about
everyone.
yourself. Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you chose to direct and adapt Hamlet.
I'm an actor out in Los Angeles, and I've been acting since I was in high school. In fact, the year after I graduated is when my high school started doing Shakespeare again. So it's been this unicorn for me ever since that I could take part in Shakespeare, and this is as close as I was ever going to get, I think. I've had strong feelings about the show Hamlet ever since high school, and been wanting to adapt it in like a film capacity forever. So, Ryan, when you mentioned that you were looking for directors to help adapt Shakespeare, I
Mhm.
first said I have lots of thoughts about it. Then you gave me the premise for the whole Breaking Bard series, and so none of my thoughts are in this adaptation because this is a whole new animal. But I love the show, and it can be interpreted in so many different ways, and so kind of getting to try to find a new one I thought was very exciting, and I am tickled pink despite the solemn appearance that Hamlet has to present this brand new one that this fine cast came up with, because no one's done this before.
No, definitely no one has done this before. Now we're gonna go and introduce our cast. So I'm gonna start off with a very familiar face, Aven, who's playing Hamlet. So Aven, first of all, tell us who you are playing and what is your favorite Shakespeare character.
Oh, oh boy, that's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
Um, who am I playing again?
Yeah, who are you playing again? Who are you playing
Oh,
again?
right, Hamlet. I'm the shitty person. I'm the awful lead in this play.
It's okay if
Um,
you don't like Hamlet. Hamlet doesn't like Hamlet.
Hamlet doesn't like Hamlet. Hamlet hates himself. It's fine. So yes, I'm playing Hamlet, and I am also. I mean, I was definitely a thespian child in high school as well, and I had many thoughts about Hamlet. um, Um, my favorite, my favorite Shakespearean characters. I mean, I got to play them, thankfully, on your other show. That's Puck.
Mm-hmm.
I really love Puck because the role, when it's done, I think when it's done well, um, it's utter chaos. Like Puck is a chaos engine in the middle of. Like I've done Midsummer like 7 times. But the only times that I've been in it where it's worked really well is when Puck is doing what they do best, which is mischief, because otherwise the whole play is just like it has a tendency for people to play it really straight and really dry, and then for me it gets really boring when the fairies are not like, you know, embracing the we're fucking with the humans. Because when they do that, everything all of a sudden makes sense. You're like, oh, okay. Everything there isn't really a plan. Everything is just chaos. It's fine, and then it gets a lot funnier.
All right,
Um,
cool. We're gonna go over to Aliza. Aliza Pearl, tell us who you are playing and your favorite Shakespeare character.
Cool. I'm Aliza Pearl. Thank you for having me. I am playing Queen Gertrude and Gertrude, and also Marcellus. In both versions of this that we're doing here today. And my favorite Shakespeare character, I have my two top ones are, I have many, but the top two I can narrow it down to are Cleopatra.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I love Cleopatra. Just like the sheer strength and badassness and craze and just I'm obsessed with that role. I really want to play it someday. And I also love Viola for very different reasons than Cleopatra. Viola is just like, I love how she just follows, you know, the whims, and she just goes towards her heart. And then, of course, the cross-dressing and like, the trickery and the hiding, and it's just so fun and compelling. And so, yeah, those are my two favorites.
All right, thank you. Next, we'll go over to Jenna. Jenna, who are you playing, and who is your favorite Shakespeare character?
Hi, I'm Jenna Bergstraesser. I am playing Ophelia and Horatio, or as Aven and I were saying, Hamlet's girl and Hamlet's boy. And my favorite Shakespeare characters, one would be Portia, and the other is Hamlet. So I'm excited to be playing opposite Hamlet, because I feel like when one plays opposite the character that they love and hate and love to analyze, the characters can love and hate and analyze them. So it's super fun.
All right, next we go to Joe. Joe, who are you playing for us tonight, and what is your favorite Shakespeare character?
Hi, I'm Joe Crandall. I'll be playing King Claudius. I think my favorite Shakespeare character is Soldier Number 2 from Hamlet. I was able to bring him to life in college, and I was actually taken down by Hamlet, and I didn't even have to say any lines. It was great. But that was my favorite to play. But my favorite to have to analyze.
So much Shakespeare.
Soldier Number 2.
You've been in plays nobody's heard of.
I liked Helicanus from Pericles because he was no nonsense, and it made me feel confident and like a man, which isn't often. And I really like Brutus because he's really it's a misunderstood character, and everyone's like "Et tu, Brute," and it's like, yeah, if you understood why, like you would too. Yeah.
All right. Next, we go over to Zack. Zack, who are you playing for us tonight, and what is your favorite Shakespeare character?
I am playing Polonius this evening. And as far as characters that I really enjoy in Shakespeare, I love me some Nick Bottom, and I really like Mercutio a lot. I think it's a really fun role.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Mercutio's great.
Mercutio is wonderful. Good choices there. Good choices.
Especially in the Baz Luhrmann one. Oh God, I still remember that one. He
Yes.
he was on point.
Yeah, really good.
And we have another familiar face. We have Randy, who you might have seen as a director over at Purgatory Cafe. He's playing a director. But what are you playing for us tonight here on Breaking Bard, You Hamlet? And what is your favorite Shakespeare character?
Yeah. I'm playing Laertes and Rosencrantz tonight for both of our two types of Hamlet. And then I guess so. One of the it's hard because there's like I just enjoy as a character and like I would want to play. So I'm gonna go with a character that type wise I'm usually not gonna ever get cast as, but I just love and would love to play this character just because they're so different. And it's Aaron in Titus Andronicus, just because he is just horrible, and it would be so like. It's just such an interesting character. I think it's written in a very interesting way in that it has very little redeeming qualities compared to any of Shakespeare's other villains. And I think like finding that as an actor would be really fun. So
Nice. And I am your host, Ryan Omega, and I'm going to be playing a few bit parts throughout tonight, but otherwise I'll be handling the tech. And my favorite Shakespeare character is Peter Quince from Midsummer Night's Dream. The big reason is because there are writings to support that Peter Quince is Shakespeare writing himself into a play. So if you want to see the most Shakespeare person in a play, it's actually Peter Quince. My favorite to watch, if they're really, really good, is Catherine in Taming the Shrew. because a really good Catherine is insanely good because she's strong-willed, she's bright, and if you direct it right, it's never as there's definitely always a level of subversion into Taming of Shrew in modern adaptations, which I really like because otherwise it gets really weird. So, so that's kind of important. All right. Okay. So we are about to begin. So let's have everybody else turn off our cameras except for Kevin. And Kevin, go ahead and tell us a little bit about the scene that you're going to be presenting first in its original and why you picked the scene.
I wish I had a more interesting answer as to why I chose the scene. We're doing Act 1, Scene 2, which basically lays out the entire premise for the story. All of the characters, for the most part, are present. We get the premise, so I really did this one just for the audience's sake, in case anyone was not familiar with Hamlet. But more importantly, because as the mission statement of this entire piece was to better familiarize an audience to Hamlet, I thought, well, we have to do the one that just kind of lays it all out. Also, there's just some great character dynamic in this in general, because this is Hamlet's introduction as a character, and thus every other character kind of commenting on his behavior. And so you've got everybody being like, what's the matter, man? So I just think it's a great scene to start off with, pure and simple.
All right. Go ahead and let us know how we're going to begin this.
Well, so we're starting off with the traditional interpretation. And my hope is, I'll just basically speak on my approach to this whole thing. My goal in trying to honor the mission statement of Breaking Bard was to adapt Shakespeare, or transpose it, I think is a better word, just into a modern vernacular without losing any of Shakespeare's intention, whether it's the definition of the word, the context of it, or his many play on words. To make sure that everyone still had the same vibe of Shakespeare, I try to keep the iambic pentameter where it belongs. So everyone is going to get the original experience, and I think you'll be able to follow right along to like beat for beat is what I was going for when we do the adaptation.
Okay, great. So with that, we're gonna go into Act 1, Scene 2.
Yeah.
A room inside the castle.
Audience, it's a simple start. It's no music. It's just actors pouring onto a stage and just taking their places. And we're gonna start with the whole cast as soon as they're ready. So on that note, I'm gonna get into my costume because I'm gonna be background player number 1. Because I got a top Joe.
Yes. Not better than soldier number 2.
Yeah.
All right.
I know my place.
All right. Okay, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Ready? Though yet of Hamlet our dear brother's death the memory be green, and that it us befitted to bear our hearts in grief, and our whole kingdom to be contracted at one brow of woe, yet so far hath discretion fought with nature, that we with wisest sorrow think on him, together with remembrance of ourselves. Therefore, our sometime sister, now our queen, the imperial jointress to this warlike state, have we, as 'twere with a defeated joy, with an auspicious and dropping eye, with mirth in funeral and with dirge in marriage, in equal scale weighing both delight and dole, taken to wife. Nor have we herein barred your better wisdoms, for have freely gone with this affair along, for all our thanks. Now follows that you know young Fortinbras, holding a weak supposal of our worth, or thinking by our late dear brother's death our state be disjointed and not a frame, colleagued with the dream of his advantage, he hath not failed to pester us with message, importing the surrender of those lands lost by his father, with all bonds of law, to our most valiant brother. So much for him. Now, for ourselves and for this time of meeting, thus much the business is, we have here writ to Norway, uncle of young Fortinbras, who, impotent and bedridden, scarcely hears of his nephew's purpose, to suppress his further gate herein, in that the levies, the lists, and full proportions are all made out of his subject. And we are here dispatched you, good Cornelius, and you, Voldemand, for bearers of this greeting to old Norway. Given to you no further personal power to business with the king, more than the scope of these dilated articles allow. Farewell, and let your haste commend your duty.
In that and all things.
We will show our duty.
We doubt it nothing. Heartily farewell. And now, Laertes, what's the news with you? You told us of some suit. What is it, Laertes? You cannot speak to reason to the Dane and lose your voice. What wouldst thou beg, Laertes? That shall not be my offer, not thy asking. The head is not more native to the heart, the hand more instrumental to the mouth, than is the throne of Denmark to thy father. What wilt thou have, Laertes?
My dread lord, your leave and favor to return to France, from whence, though willingly I came to Denmark to show my duty in your coronation, yet now I must confess that, duty done, my thoughts and wishes bend again toward France, and bow them to your gracious leave and parting.
Have you your father's leave? What says Polonius?
He hath, my lord, wrung from me my slow leave, my laborsome petition, and at last, upon his will, I sealed my hard consent. I do beseech you, give him leave to go.
Take thy hour, Laertes. Time be thine, and thy best graces spend it all thy will. But now, my cousin and my son. I'm sorry, Hamlet. What was that? I cannot hear thee.
A little more than kin and less than kind.
Oh, how is it that clouds still hang on your head?
Not so, my lord. I am too much in the sun.
Good Hamlet, cast thy nighted color off, and let thine eye look like a friend on Denmark. Do not forever with thy veiled lid seek for thy noble father in the dust. Thou knowest 'tis common. All that lives must die, passing through nature to eternity.
Aye, madam, it is common.
If it be, why seems it so particular with thee?
Seems, madam? Nay, it is. I know not seems. 'Tis not alone my inky cloak, good mother, nor customary suits of solemn black, nor windy suspiration of forced breath, no, nor the fruitful river in the eye, nor the dejected haviour of the visage, together with all forms, moods, shapes of grief that can denote me truly. These, indeed, seem, for their actions that a man might play. But I have that within which passeth show. These but the trappings and the suits of woe.
'Tis sweet and commendable in your nature, Hamlet, to give these mourning duties to your father. But you must know, your father lost a father. That father lost his, and the survivors bound in filial obligation to some term to the obsequious sorrow, but to persevere in obstinate condolement is a course of impious stubbornness. 'Tis unmanly grief. It shows a will most incorrect to heaven, a heart unfortified, a mind impatient, an understanding simple and unschooled. For what we know must be and is as common as the most vulgar thing to sense. Why should we, in our peevish opposition, take it to heart? Fie, 'tis a fault to heaven, a fault against the dead, a fault to nature, to reason most absurd, whose common theme is death of fathers, and who still hath cried, from the first course till that, he who died today, this must be so. We pray you, throw to earth this unprevailing woe, and think of us as a father. For let the world take notice, you are the most immediate to our throne, and with no less nobility of love than that which dearest father bears his son, do I import toward you. For your intent in going back to school in Wittenberg, it is most retrograde to our desire, and we beseech you, bend you to remain here in the cheer and comfort of our eye, our chiefiest courtier, cousin, and our son.
Let not thy mother lose her prayers, Hamlet. I pray thee, stay with us. Go not to Wittenberg.
I shall, in my best, obey you, madam.
Why, 'tis a loving and fair reply. Be as ourselves in Denmark. Madam, come. This gentle and unforced accord of Hamlet sits smiling on my heart, in grace whereof no jocund health that Denmark drinks today, but the great commons of the clouds shall tell, and the kings rouse the heavens, all brew it again, re-speaking earthly thunder. Come, away.
Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt, thaw, and resolve itself into a dew, or that the everlasting had not fixed his cannon against self-slaughter. Oh, God! God! How weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable seem to be all the uses of this world. Fie unto it! Ah, fie! 'Tis an unweeded garden that grows to seed. Things rank and gross in nature possess it merely that it should come to this. But 2 months dead! Nay, not so much, not 2. So excellent a king that was to this, Hyperion to a satyr so loving to my mother, that he might not beteem the winds of heaven, visit her face too roughly, heaven and earth. Must I remember why she would hang on him, as if increase and appetite had grown by what it fed on, and yet within a month? Let me not think on it. Ah, frailty, thy name is a woman. The little month, or ere those shoes were old, which she followed my poor father's body, like Niobe, all tears, why she, even she, God, a beast that wants discourse of reason, would have mourned longer. Married with my uncle, my father's brother, but no more like my father than I do to her, within a month. Ere yet the salt of most unrighteous tears had left the flushing in her galled eyes. She married, oh, most wicked speed to post with such dexterity to incestuous sheets. Ugh. Is not nor cannot come to good, but break my heart, for I must hold my tongue.
Hail to your lordship.
I am glad to see you well. Horatio? Or do I forget myself?
The same, my lord, and your poor servant ever.
Sir, my good friend, I'll change that name with you. And what makes you from Wittenberg, Horatio? Marcellus?
My good lord.
I am very glad to see you. Good even, sir. But what in faith make you from Wittenberg?
A truant disposition, good my lord.
I would not hear your enemies say so. Nor shall you do mine ear that violence, to make it truster of your own report against yourself. I know you are no truant. But what is your affair in Elsinore? We'll teach you to drink deep ere you depart.
My lord, I came to see your father's funeral.
I pray thee, do not mock me, fellow student. I think it was to see my mother's wedding.
Indeed, my lord, it followed hard upon.
Thrift, Horatio. The funeral baked meats did coldly furnish forth the marriage tables. Would I had met my dearest foe in heaven, or ever had I seen that day, Horatio, my father. Methinks I see my father.
Where, my lord?
In my mind's eye, Horatio.
Oh, I saw him once. He was a goodly king.
He was a man. Take him for all in all. I shall not look upon his like again.
My lord, I think I saw him yesternight.
Saw? Who?
My lord, the king, your father.
The king? My father?
Season your admiration for a while with an attent ear, till may I deliver upon the witness of these gentlemen this marvel to you.
For God's love, let me hear.
2 nights together had these gentlemen, Marcellus and Bernardo, on their watch in the dead, vast, and middle of the night been thus encountered. A figure, like your father, armed at point exactly Capipe, appears before them, and with solemn march goes slow and stately behind them. Thrice he walked, by their oppressed and fear-surprised eye within his truncheon's length, whilst they, distilled almost to jelly with the act of fear, stand dumb and speak not to him. This to me in dreadful secrecy in part did they, and with them the 3rd night kept the watch, where, as they had delivered both in time, formed the thing, each word made good and true. The apparition comes! I knew your father! These hands are not more like.
But where was this?
My lord, upon the platform where we watched.
Did you not speak to it?
Oh, my lord, I did, but answer made it none. Yet once methought it lifted up its head and did address itself to motion like it would speak, but even then the morning cock crew loud, and at the sound it shrunk and haste away and vanished from our sight.
It is very strange.
As I do live, my honored lord, is 'tis true, and we did think to writ it down in our duty to let you know of it.
Indeed, sirs, but this troubles me. Hold your watch tonight.
We do, my
Do,
lord.
my lord.
Armed, say you?
Armed, my lord.
From top to toe.
My lord, from head to foot.
Then you saw not his face?
Oh, yes, my lord, he wore his beaver up.
What? Looked he frowningly?
A countenance more in sorrow than in anger.
Pale or red?
Nay, very pale.
And fixed his eyes upon you?
Most constantly.
Ah, I would had it been there.
It would have much amazed you.
Very like. Stayed it long?
Well, one might with moderate haste might tell 100.
Longer.
Longer.
Not when I saw it.
His beard was grizzled, no?
It was, as I have seen in his life, a sable silvered.
I will watch tonight. Perchance, 'twill walk again.
I warrant it will.
If it assume my noble father's person, I'll speak to it, though hell itself should gape, and bid me hold my peace. I pray you all, if you have hitherto concealed this sight, let it be tenable in your silence still. And whatsoever else shall hap tonight, give it an understanding, but no tongue. I will requite your loves. So fare you well. Upon the platform, twixt 11 and 12, I will visit you.
Our
duty to your
honor.
Your loves as mine to you. Farewell. My father's spirit in arms. All is not well. I doubt some foul play, where the night will come. Till then, I sit still. My soul, foul deeds will rise. Through all earth overwhelm them to men's eyes.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes, applause.
Applause.
I think, take a bow. I think it's worth noting that throughout our entire rehearsal process, we never went over the original text. I just trusted in the talents of this cast, and I was right to do so. So, great job to them for just making it happen.
Sorry.
Why are you apologizing? It's great. This was great. Yeah, for no rehearsals, this was great.
Yeah, those were amazing.
I'm just gonna vocalize what I said in our personal chat.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Holy shit, everybody! That was a damn near cold read, and that was pretty fucking impressive. Y'all are great.
Do you know what made that great was a combination of the approach that we usually do for Breaking Bard is many of the people who are directing or doing the adaptations usually have our casts go through the adaptation first and then bring all of those notes to the original. But what was great about the cold reads was that there is a tendency for people who are unfamiliar with text to rush as fast as possible, but everyone actually took their time and gave weight to those words, and that's what made that performance great. So great job, everyone.
And we should also mention that, like you said, usually what happens Breaking Bard is we just take the notes from the one play and went over to the other. And granted, we talked a lot with each member of the cast about their character and their motivations and what makes their character tick, but we decided it would just be more fun to leave it still like set as an English play set in Denmark in the Middle Ages or whatever. So they didn't take all the notes. They just I didn't tell them how to do this play. I was like, yeah, just do it like you would do it if you were doing it on a real stage. And awesome.
So Kevin, what was your approach into going into the adaptation for this scene?
So now, wonderful segue. Now let's talk about this thing we're doing. All right. Well, I wanted to not do the obvious thing, and no disrespect to like the good people at the Alameda West End Theater or anything for bringing it into the 21st century by putting it in the modern royal family of Denmark's house. I wanted to do the Breaking Bard thing and find a new setting for it that people could relate to. And I live out here in Los Angeles, where I have worked for some wealthy families who throw elaborate garden parties, and thought, let's do that. So I chose this scene because it establishes all of the context that you really need to know. I shouldn't really have to explain the setting of the piece because it would come out in the play. But since we're not doing the whole play, we are no longer with the royal family of Denmark. We are with an entrepreneurial family who own a small, closely held corporation where they are basically bottled water moguls, and their son Hamlet is the social media influencer face of the brand. So I feel like that's all I really need to say. I can get into the details about how Claudius was I wrote all this down. He was the executive director for the company, but now has moved up to just full-on chairman for the whole piece. And it actually was a really nice way to adapt the play, because every time that they said the throne of Denmark, I could just say the chair of the Denmark lifestyle beverage company. So we'll let our actors do their work in fulfilling the promise of this whole piece. There was a lot of inspiration that went into this. I consulted 4 different translations of this play alone, a few others from other Shakespeare plays. We took inspiration from Vanderpump Rules, The Social Network, and more than anything, Schitt's Creek. So I hope that everybody who's tuning in is going to enjoy this interpretation of Act 1, Scene 2, and ew, Hamlet. Just gonna go get changed again.
Ew, Hamlet. All
Yeah,
right.
said like that.
Yeah.
Alternate title is It's a
It's a Hamlet.
Yo, Hamlet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is going to be fun. We decided, you know what? Let's just make it a cringe comedy. It's the cringe comedy of Hamlet, Prince of Bel Air.
Oh.
As soon as my cast is ready, I'm ready to see if we pull this off.
All right.
I'm ready. Is anybody else? Collins.
Yes.
Although, hello, Hamlet Sr., my brother's death is a recent memory, and that it was right for us to grieve in our hearts and for our whole company to be together in the act of bereavement. The whole time, responsibility fought with our nature. So it would be wise, while thinking of him, that we also remember to think of ourselves. Therefore, my one-time sister-in-law, now my partner, professional beneficiary of our unstable estate, we have, as it were, with a downtrodden joy, with a watery and a smizing eye, with a giggle at a funeral and a moment of silence at a wedding. In equal parts give and take, I've taken her as my wife. We have not ignored your advice, which you've shared throughout this whole affair. For that, thank you. Moving on, you all know young Fortinbras. Undervaluing our net worth, our thinking, because of our late chairman's death, our estate is disjoined and out of the picture, positioned with the dream of having an advantage, he hasn't failed to pester us with messages, proposing the sale of the assets his father already lost, all with legal action to my gallant brother. So much for him. Now, as far as we're concerned, at this time, here's the matter at hand. I have written to Northern Way's CEO, the uncle of Fortinbras Jr., who, completely ineffective and not on social, barely hears about his nephew's intentions to curb any further step taking henceforth. Since the charges, the inventories and full shares are all made under his leadership, I am sending you, Cornelius, and you, Voldemand, as representatives to this acquisition to Northern Way Bottled Water. You have no additional personal power to do business with the CEO beyond what the scope of these expanded clauses allow. Goodbye. You can head out now.
Just like always.
Do our jobs.
I have no doubt. Bye.
Bye.
And now, Laertes, what's new with you? You asked me something. What is it, Laertes? You cannot talk about goals to the man and then trail off. What would you want, Laertes? All I wouldn't offer to get it if it wasn't you asking. The head is as connected to the heart, the hand is influential to the mouth as the chair of Denmark Lifestyle Beverage Company to your father. What would you like, Laertes?
Thank you, sir. Your support in going back to Stanford. That's where I agreed to come to Bel Air to be present in your introduction ceremony. But now, sorry to say, with that done, my thoughts and aspirations are leaning back to UC. And if you allow it, please excuse me.
You have your father's permission? What's Polonius say?
Sir, he twisted my arm till I let go by rigorously asking, and at last his willpower finalized my full consent. Say I so give him permission to go.
When it's good for you, Laertes, take your time and live your best life. Spend it how you want. But now, my nephew Hamlet and my son.
Closer in kinship and less in kindness.
How is it you're still in a gloomy mood?
Not true, sir. Today, I've been so sunny.
Come on, Hamlet. Change out of your black clothes and see how nice everyone is being. Don't spend forever with your head down looking around in the grass for your dad. You know, these things happen. Everything ends, passing on from Earth into the heavens.
Yes, Mom. Common knowledge.
Well, if that's true, why does it seem so exclusive to you?
Seems? Mom? No, it is. I don't know what sees. This isn't just my dark sweater, Mother dear. No conservative suit in black formal, or exasperated heavy sigh, or misty eye shedding a single tear, or the disappointed look on my face. All of them, every form that grief takes, can truly express me. Yeah, they seem it, because these are actions someone might take. But what I have inside of me barely shows. Only a hint of grief is in my clothes.
It's sweet and commendable of you, Hamlet, to pay respect in mourning your father, but you must know your father lost a father. That father lost his, and their survivors had familiar obligations for some time to grieve obediently, but to persist in this obstinate commiseration is a choice that's stubbornly dishonest. It's childish angst. It shows a morally offensive resolve, a weak heart, an impetuous mind, plus a simple and ignorant understanding of what we know is true and as common as the most blatantly recognizable thing to reason. Why should we, in a spiteful disapproval, take it to heart? I mean, it's a crime against heaven, a crime against the dead, a crime against nature, whose lesson for everyone is fathers die. And always says, from the first somebody who died till whoever died today, it is what it is. Please, please get rid of this pointless anguish and think of me like a father. Because, as everybody knows, you are the most immediate successor to our company. And I love you with all of the honesty that any father has for his own son. I hope you know. As for your intention of going back to school in San Jose, Stanford goes against what I hope for you. And I ask you, encourage you to stay here with the support and comfort of home. My chief of staff, family, and my son.
Don't let your mother pray for nothing, Hamlet. Stay with us. Don't go to Stanford.
Do my best to comply, ma'am.
See, that's a good and sensible response. Do like we're doing here. Baby, come on. This gracious and voluntary agreement with Hamlet makes my heart smile. In honor of it, every toast that we drink today will sound like fireworks up in the sky, and my drinking is going to echo back from the stratosphere like thunder. Let's go.
I wish my crawling skin would melt off. Ugh! Dissolve and turn itself into vapor. Or that the universe wasn't so fixed against suicide. I mean, God! God! How weak, stale, flat, and utterly worthless all the things in the world are to me. Screw that! Screw it! This garden is full of weeds that keep growing. Gross and unnatural things completely own it. That it's even come to this. Only dead for 2 months. No, not even! Less than 2! He was such an excellent leader that compared to this weasel, he's Superman. So loving to my mother that he might not let the wind blow so hard on her face. What the hell do I have to remember this? That she would hang on him like it was a condition that got worse by treating it, and yet, within a month, God, I don't want to think about it. Weakness, you're such a girl. Barely a month. Even before she broke in those shoes she wore to my poor dad's funeral. Tears like a fountain, God. An animal that lacks the ability to reason would have mourned longer. She married my uncle, my father's brother, who's about as similar to my father as I am to Dwayne Johnson. Within a month! Even before her uncalled for teardrops had left the red parts of her bloodshot eyes, she remained. Way to hurry, rush in with such skill into a bed of incest. It's not okay. It can never be okay. Sorry, Heart. I have to hold my tongue.
Hello, sir.
Good to see you doing so well. Horatio. Or did I forget?
Yes, sir. Horatio, and still your assistant.
Hey, my guy, I'll fix that for you. And what made you come down to San Jose? From San Jose, Horatio. Marcellus?
Sir?
It's real nice to see you. Hey, man. But really, though, why aren't you at Stanford?
Got a slacker vibe, my man.
I wouldn't let your nemesis say that. Or listen to you beat yourself up just to make it truer in your vague post against yourself. I know you're not a slacker. But what are you doing in Bel Air? We'll drive you to hard drinking before you leave.
Dude, I came to see your dad's funeral.
I'm asking you not to make fun of me, bro. I think it was to see my mom's wedding.
No, yeah, buddy, that followed right after.
Cost effective, Horatio. The funeral's hot buffet made charcuterie plates for the wedding tables. I would have rather met my worst enemy in heaven over having to witness that day, Horatio. It's my dad! I think I'm seeing my dad.
Where, man?
In my mind, Horatio.
Oh. I saw him once. He was a great boss.
He was a total boss at everything. I'll never see the likes of him again.
Dude, I think I saw him last night.
Saw who?
Dude, our boss, your father.
Our boss? My father?
Check your excitement for a sec and give me your attention while I tell you about what I witnessed these two guys. This awesome thing.
For God's sake, let me hear it.
2 nights this week, these security guards, Marcellus and Bernardo, were on watch in the dead middle of the night. Boring. But then a person who looked just like your dad, dressed to the nine exactly, head to toe, showed up right in front of them and kind of strut super slow but regal by them. 3 times right by them, their eyes were all terrified. His hiking stick lengths away while they turned pretty much to jelly with all the fear. Stood there and didn't speak to him. But me, they let in on this horrible secret. So I went with them the 3rd night to watch, where, just like they said, this time it happened. God, how the thing looked. Every word of it was true. The ghost showed up, and I knew your dad. They match up like my hands.
But where was this?
Sir, up on the platform where we keep watch.
You didn't talk to it?
Yeah, dude, I did, but it didn't answer. One time I thought it lifted up its head and kind of sort of moved itself like it was gonna speak, but then the dogs with the morning joggers barked so loud the sound of it made it shrink back real fast and vanish out of sight.
That's very strange.
I swear on my life, my main man, it is true. And we did think to write it down while on duty to let you know about it.
Thank you. Thank you, guys, but this bothers me. Do you have guard duty tonight?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
You said dressed.
Dressed up, sir.
From head to toe?
Sir, from top to bottom.
Then you didn't see his face.
Oh yeah, we did. He wore his hater blockers up.
Was he scowling?
His expression was more sad than angry.
Pale or red?
No, yeah, so pale.
And his eyes stared at you?
Constantly.
I wish I would have been there.
It would have blown you away.
Most likely. Did it stay long?
As long as someone might take to count to 100.
Longer.
Not when I saw it.
His beard was great, right?
It was just like I've seen in real life. Real silver fox.
I'll watch with you tonight. Maybe he'll walk again.
I bet it will.
If it assumes my father's distinctive image, I'll speak to it. Even if hell itself tells me to shut up. I'm begging you guys. If you have been withholding this sighting, let's keep it defensible by remaining silent. And whatever else should happen tonight, give it a thought, but don't talk about it. And I will return the favor. So goodbye. Up on the platform between 11 and midnight, I'll come visit you.
It's our duty,
Our duty, sir.
You're my friends, like I am for you. Bye. My dad's ghost. In full dress. This is not good. I'll bet it's some prank. Wish the night would come. Till then, I sit still. Bad deeds get exposed, even if the world thinks the case is closed.
Woohoo! Yeah!
Yes, air horns all around.
Hold on, let me play that. Oh. Very good.
Cheers.
Oh.
Yeah, that was good. That was so good. Man, I wish I was paying attention to the comments right now, but I don't have that text set up.
Yeah, no worries. Like I will convey things. Convey things over. Like I think people were amused that Hamlet was on his phone during Claudius's speech. I like that even within the cast, like half of us just took our phones.
Yeah, no, so the approach, like I said, was to make him this social media influencer type, and Aven pointed out some things to me that as someone who's not like a big social media person that I just didn't consider. And they were like, yeah, Hamlet would just be on his phone all the time. He's just that kind of person who's not paying attention to everybody around him because he's so immersed in what he's doing, his presence and everything else. That just brought a whole new facet to Hamlet that I'm pretty sure nobody has considered before. And I think would only work in a 21st century adaptation, obviously, but is perfectly appropriate. So I absolutely love that. I think everyone brought such great stuff to this interpretation of their character, and totally redefined it. And I love that. Yeah, I could go on.
Oh,
Thanks.
well, let's go on to your next scene. I believe it's Act 1, Scene 3, a room in Polonius's house. So why did you pick this scene?
I picked this scene because I wanted the actors who in this scene, particularly, I wanted actors who weren't Hamlet and Claudius to have more to do. That was honestly it. Mm-hmm. I was originally opposed to this scene because I'm fond of the monologue that Polonius gives to Laertes before he rushes off to college, like giving him his wisdom of the years and what is essentially very sound advice. And even though Polonius is typically regarded as the clown of this show, I certainly didn't want to do it that way, though we are going to start with the original translation and I'm going to let the actors do as they please. But knowing that in our adaptation that Polonius was kind of be like this Johnny Rose character who no one really takes seriously, it was too appropriate, and it was an avenue which I could let him give real advice, and just the response is what makes it funny. And I should be saving this for the next break, but I actually really enjoyed translating the scene. So the more I did it, the more I was really happy I chose this, if only for the actor's benefit.
All right. With that, we go to Tragedy of Hamlet, Act 1, Scene 3.
I'm not in this one, so I'm gonna step out. Bye.
Yes, same here.
My necessaries are embarked. Farewell. And sister, as the wind gives benefit and convoy is assistant, do not sleep, but let me hear from you.
Do you doubt that?
For Hamlet and the trifling of his favor, hold it in fashion and a toy in blood, a violet in youth of primy nature, forward, not permanent, sweet, not lasting, the perfume and suppliance of a minute, no more.
No more, but so?
I think it no more. For nature crescent does not grow alone, enthuse and bulk, but as this temple waxes, the inward service of the mind and soul grows wide withal. Perhaps he loves you now. And now no soil nor caudal doth besmirch the virtue of his will. But you must fear. His greatness weighed, his will is not his own. For he himself is subject to his birth. He may not, as unvalued persons do, carve for himself, for on his choice depends the safety and health of this whole state. And therefore must his choice be circumscribed unto the voice and yielding of that body, whereof he is the head. Then if he says he loves you, it fits your wisdom so far to believe it, as he in particular act and place may give his sayings deed, which is no further than the main voice of Denmark is withal. Then weigh what loss your honor may sustain. If with too credent ear you list his songs, or lose your heart, or your chaste treasure open to his unmastered importunity. Fear it, Ophelia. Fear it, my dear sister. And keep you in the rear of your affection, or out of the shot and danger of desire. The chariest maid is prodigal enough if she unmask her beauty to the moon. Virtue itself scapes not calumnious strokes that canker gall the infants of the spring too oft before their buttons be disclosed. And in the morn and liquid dew of youth, contagious blasphements are most imminent. Be wary, then. Best safety lies in fear. Youth to itself rebels, though none else is near.
Shall the effect of this good lesson keep as watchman to my heart? But, good my brother, do not, as some ungracious pastors do, show me the steep and thorny way to heaven, whilst, like a puffed and reckless libertine, himself the primrose path of dalliance treads, and recks not his own reed.
Oh, fear me not. I stay too long, but here my father comes. A double blessing is a double grace. Occasion smiles upon a second lead.
Yet here, Laertes, aboard, for shame! The wind sits on the shoulder of your sail. And you are stayed for there. My blessings with thee, and these few precepts in thy memory. See thou character. Give thy thoughts no tongue, nor any unproportioned thoughts, this act. Be thou familiar, but by no means vulgar. Those friends thou hast and their adoption tried, grapple them with thy soul, with hoops of steel, but do not dull thy palm with entertainment of each new hatched, unfledged comrade. Beware of entrance to the quarrel, but being in, bear that the opposed may be ware of thee. Give every man thy ear, but few thy voice. Take each man's censure, but reserve thy judgment. Costly thy habit, as thy purse can buy, but not expressed in fancy, rich, not gaudy. For the apparel oft proclaims the man, and they in France, the best in rank and station, are the most select and generous, chief in that. Neither a borrower nor a lender be, for loan oft loses both itself and friend, and borrowing dulls the edge of husbandry. This above all, to thine own self be true. And it must follow, as night and day, thou canst not then be false to any man. Farewell. My blessing seasons be up.
Most humbly do I take my leave, my lord.
The time invites you. Go. Your servant's town.
Farewell, Ophelia, and remember well what I have said to you.
'Tis in my memory locked, and you yourself shall keep the key to it.
Farewell.
What is it, Ophelia, he hath said to you?
So please you, something touching the Lord Hamlet.
Very well thought. 'Tis told me he hath very often of late given private time to you, and you yourself have of your audience been most free and bounteous. If it be so, as so it's put to me, that you and that in way of caution, I must tell you, you do not understand yourself so clearly as it behoves my daughter and your honor. That is what is between you. Give me up the truth.
He hath, my lord, of late, made many tenders of his affection to me.
Affection? Pooh! You speak like a green girl, unsifted in such perilous circumstance. Do you believe his tenders, as you call them?
I do not know, my lord, what I should think.
Mary, I'll teach you. Think yourself a baby, that you have taken those tenders for true pay, which are not sterling. Tender yourself more dearly, or, not to crack the wind of the poor phrase, running it thus, you'll tender me a fool.
My lord, he hath importuned me with love in honorable fashion.
Aye, fashion you may call it. Go to.
And hath given his countenance in his speech, my lord, with almost all the holy vows of heaven.
Aye, springs to catch woodcocks. I do know when blood burns how prodigal the soul lends the tongue vows. These blazes, daughter, giving more light than heat, extinct in both. Even in their promise, as it is to a making, you must not take the fire. For this time, be somewhat scanter of your mating presence. Set your entreatments at a higher rate. Then to command to parley. For Lord Hamlet, believing so much in him, that he is young, and with a larger tether may he walk than may be given you. In few, Ophelia, do not believe his vows, for they are brokers, not of the dye for which their investments show, but mere implorators of unholy suits, breathing like sanctified and pious bawds to better beguile. This is for all. I would not, in plain terms, from this time forth have you slander any moment leisure as to give words or talk with Lord Hamlet. Look to it, I charge you. Come your ways.
I shall obey, my lord.
All right, thank you. Woo! Oh, my dear director, you are on mute.
I was just saying, I'm really glad I chose that scene. I really like it, and I really like what our talent has done with it.
Again, those were cold reads, and that was performed really, really well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I think I'd like to believe part of that is a testament to the translation, because I did like beat for beat try to break it down line for line and really make it make sense. And one thing, especially like with Polonius's monologue, it's almost contradictory at times. It's a lot because it feels like he's just listing statements, but he's actually redefining them as he's talking, and it's so confusing. And in the name of having something to say in this break, I thought I would speak about how when approaching the translation, there's so many ways you can translate. I always like to listen to a podcast about people who translate text from old ancient languages or just foreign languages, and how there's different avenues you can take. And I didn't know whether to be literal or more metaphorical at times. And I found that the characters would often decide for me because Polonius I envisioned as the CEO of the company, and he is the finance guy who kind of knows everything that he's supposed to know, and he's in charge of stuff, but is a poor executor of his thoughts. So there's times where he especially, but all of the characters who work on this board of directors here drop legal jargon to make a point. And when he's doing analogies with legal jargon, it's apt, but every other time he comes up with some analogy that just doesn't quite land. And that's, I think, baked into the Shakespeare's text, and thus made it, once I cracked that code, made it really easy to figure out how to approach each line of dialogue from each character. And we're going to see that.
Yeah. So I didn't realize, and I feel like, oh, okay, looks like we are ready for the next, the interpretation or the adaptation.
Okay.
So, going into this, you talked a little bit about that. Were there any other notes that you want to talk about in terms of doing the reinterpretation of this scene into modern language?
It was fun to kind of like take, now that I've set this in Bel Air, I was like, had to figure out where the colleges that each character went to, like where eventually they would send off Hamlet when he's they got to get rid of him. And I literally took a map of Northern Europe and a map of Southern California, and I was like, okay, so if this point's here, then it has to be this spot, and I guess I'll make, because you can't go east anymore to France, where it's where Laertes is studying. So I just decided to send him north to Silicon Valley, and had to look up like all the next colleges in Silicon Valley. This is fun. This is a fun puzzle to put together.
It makes a lot of sense that you mentioned Stanford, because Stanford is like one of those like high tier schools. Like I also know Stanford because I went to Berkeley, which is Stanford's rival. So it's like so I remember seeing like a scene that is either there or will come up about the UC system. So
I chose Stanford purely because that's where the guy who founded Napster went, and I was like trying to find a college that just, not say it's a douchey college or anything, but just had that air in popular culture.
Oh yeah.
Since that's, you know, what Shakespeare doing. Like France has this air about it, and I had to find an equivalent.
No, Stanford is definitely one of those. Yeah, Stanford is definitely one of those universities. All right.
Good.
Looks
Glad I did well.
Yes. Okay. So I guess it's time for our next scene. So I'm gonna turn off my camera.
My necessities are loaded. Goodbye. And sis, as long as signals are working and a phone is available, don't sleep. Message me sometime.
You don't think I will?
And as for Hamlet and his marginal attention, consider it like seasonal flirting. He's a budding flower barely in his prime. Excited, but fickle. Sweet, but short-lived. Pretty and engaging for a minute. That's it.
Is that it?
Think of it like that. In nature, people do not grow only in size and mass, but as the body grows, the inner function of the mind and soul grows up with it. Maybe he loves you now, and now there's no pretense to slander his good intentions. But you should know that, considering his status, he has no choice, because he is subject to his family. He can't be like regular people who choose for themselves, because his choices affect the security and image of the whole brand. And therefore, his choices will circle back onto the values and permissions of the board, where he's the chief of staff. So, if he says he loves you, it suits your interest to only believe he is in a particular position to maybe act on what he says, which is no further than Denmark's mission statement agrees with. Then assess the loss your status might take. If you're too naive with all this sweet talk, or give up your heart, or open the kimono to his uninhibited persistence, be careful, Ophelia. Careful, little sister. And hold steady against falling in love, out from crosshairs and dangerous thirst traps. The most cautious girl is careless enough just by showing off her good looks at night, good graces, can't escape gossip columns. Garden pests can decimate flower beds, often before their buds could have sprouted, and in the morning, when the plants are young, contagious disease is gonna happen. So, watch out. Fear is safety's cornerstone. Young people wreck themselves all on their own.
I will keep the point of this lecture in mind and keep an eye on my heart. But, Big Brother, do not, as those scandalous pastors do, go showing me the narrow path to heaven while acting like an overblown playboy on a promiscuous trail of broken hearts and not practice what you preach.
Don't worry. I stayed too long. Now here comes our dad. Double the goodbyes is double the fun. And luck would have it, a second farewell.
You're still here, Laertes. Go for God's sake. A headwind is blowing for your takeoff, and they're waiting for you. There, you have my blessing. And a few tenets you should remember. Write this down. Don't blurt out what you're thinking or do anything you haven't thought through. Be friendly, but in no way indiscriminate. The friends you have and found in best practice, hold them close to your heart with bonds of steel, but don't callous your hands with a shake with every new unknown acquaintance. Avoid getting involved in fights, but when in one, stand firm so your opponent avoids you. Listen to everyone, but don't speak for them. Take in each option. But reserve your judgment. Splurge on clothes as much as you can budget, but don't be fancy, refined, not gaudy, because they often say the clothes make the man, and those at San Francisco's top-ranking positions are more selective and substantial in that way. Don't borrow money or lend it out, because often you'll lose it and the friend. And borrowing money dulls money management skills, and above all else, be honest with yourself. And it should reason, so like cause and effect. You can't then be fake to anyone else. Take care. I hope my blessing helps it stick.
And respectfully, I'll catch my flight, Dad.
You're pressed for time. Go. The staff is waiting.
Goodbye, Ophelia. Please remember what I told you.
It's locked in my memory, and only you can hold the key to it.
Bye.
What's that, Ophelia? What did he say to you?
Something about Hamlet. Hope that's okay.
Jeez, well, good thing. They tell me he's pretty often lately spending private time with you, and you yourself have been very open and generous with your attention. If that is the case, and as I've been told, a word of caution, I have to say, you do not conduct yourself entirely as expected from my daughter or yourself. What is it with you two? And give me the truth.
He has, Dad, made lots of offers lately of his feelings towards me.
Feelings? Psh. You sound like a naive girl, uninformed about such a perilous situation. Do you believe his offers, as you put it?
I don't know what to believe, Dad.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you. Think of yourself as a kid, and you've taken those offers as a payment, but they're play money. Give yourself more credit, or to beat a dead horse running my point into the ground, you'll offer up a chump.
Dad, he's only bothered me about love in a respectable fashion.
Yeah, fashion is the word for it.
And has made promises to back it up, Dad, with almost every fiber of his being.
Yeah, traps to catch birds. Oh, I know. With hot-blooded men, the heart recklessly hands out promises. These fires, Ophelia, give off more light than heat and will soon die out. Even as he's making promises, you can't mistake it for love. Starting now, be a little scarcer with your company. Set a higher rate for your attention than in order to touch base. Because Hamlet, please remember this about him. He's young and has a longer leash to walk around than might be given to you. In short, Ophelia, don't believe his promises. They're escorts that aren't as classy as their clothes suggest, but rather enablers of bad habits to entice you better. This is the point. I will not, in simple terms, from now on, have you throw away any moment of your time giving it to or talking with Lord Hamlet. Look into it. I'm telling you now. Come on.
All right, fine, Dad.
Woo!
I'm sorry, I'm still laughing at Polonius suggesting that Hamlet's promises are ladies of the evening, but not the classy ones.
Not the.
Just, my God.
Oh my
It
goodness.
was so well delivered. It was so well delivered.
Yeah, like I keep forgetting, and I shouldn't be forgetting that Polonius, like so many of his lines are taken as sayings and slogans. A lot of it comes from literally this one scene in Hamlet.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's why I was like not, I was like hesitant, like I was afraid of it, but I didn't want to ruin this amazing scene. And granted, I should have thought that about this entire play, but for some reason that monologue, neither a bard nor lender be, I was like, you can't mess with that. That's good. That's a good device that has become part of our current modern vernacular, and I'm trying to rephrase it, something that was perfectly stated, but I eventually found the words, and I gotta say that having the jargon I think helped, because it helped the character. It did the fun thing that Shakespeare did where he used aphorisms and expressions of his time, and I get to find ones of our own. So I consulted a lot of websites that talked about overused business jargon. So Open the Kimono was one I was not familiar with.
Open the kimono?
Perfect, exactly. So I have Laertes basically telling his sister, don't give away information to Hamlet, and that's the expression, open the kimono. But you hear it and go, that's cringe.
Yeah, that's like
perfect phrase for
okay.
what was happening in this scene. Yeah, where it was, because I can consult the original text and find out it was something similar where he was. We just heard it. I should know it.
It's the treasure box,
Thank you. Yeah, saying don't give away your treasure, and I was like, I know he's not saying that, but it sounds like he's saying that.
Huh.
And we'll see that in the coming translation. Props to the rest of the cast for reminding me what the kids speak these days, because I was way off on some stuff, and they helped. We got to workshop this as a cast, and they helped me fix the translation and make it just right for this modern interpretation.
So, what is the next scene that we're going to be presenting today? I believe it's the last set of scenes.
It's the last scene we're doing. It's the one that everyone's been waiting for. This is Act 3, Scene 1, lovingly referred to as Hamlet's soliloquy and Get Thee to a Nunnery. It's both of those intense-ass monologues are in this scene. So there was no choice in the matter. We were doing this scene regardless. That's all I got to say about that.
Let me just double check something here. So,
Is the audience liking it so far? I'm that director who's standing in the back with the playbill doing this. Watching that first performance.
All right. I just wanted to check if people were ready, and it looks like we are ready to go into Act 3, Scene 1, the original.
And can you, by no drift of circumstance, get from him why he put on his confusion, grading so harshly all his days of quiet with turbulent and dangerous lunacy?
He does confess he feels himself distracted, but from what cause he will by no means speak.
Nor do we find him forward to be sounded, but with a crafty madness keeps aloof when we should bring him onto some confession of his true state.
Did he receive you well?
Most like a gentleman.
But with much forcing of his disposition.
Niggard of question, but of our demand most free in his reply.
Did you essay him to any pastime?
Madam, it so fell out that certain players were wrought on the way of these we told him, and there did seem in him a kind of joy to hear of it. They are about the court, and as I think, they have already ordered this knight to play before him.
'Tis most true, and he beseeched me to entreat your majesties, to hear and see the matter.
Oh, with all my heart, and it doth much content me to hear him so inclined. Good gentlemen, give him a further edge, and drive his purpose on to these delights.
We shall, my lord.
Sweet Gertrude, leave us too, for we have closely sent for Hamlet hither, that he, as 'twere by accident, may here affront Ophelia. Her father and myself, lawful espoused, will so bestow ourselves that, seeing unseen, we may of their encounter frankly judge, and gather by him as he is behaved, if it be the affliction of this love or no, that thus he suffers for.
I shall obey you. And for your part, Ophelia, I do wish that your good beauties be the happy cause of Hamlet's wildness. So shall I hope your virtues will bring him to his wonted way again, to both your honors.
Madam, I wish it may.
Ophelia, walk you here. Gracious, so please you, we will bestow ourselves. Read on this book, that show of such an excise may color your loneliness. We are oft blaming this, 'tis too much proved, that with devotion's visage and pious actions we do sugar o'er the devil himself.
Oh, 'tis too true. How smart a lash that speech doth give me conscious, the harlot's cheek, beautied with plastered art, is not more ugly to the thing that helps it than is my deed to my most painted word. Oh, heavy burden.
I am hearing him coming. Let's withdraw, my lord.
You are on mute.
Be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or take arms against the sea of troubles, and, by opposing, end them. To die, to sleep, no more. And, by sleep, to say we end the heartache and the 1,000 natural shocks the flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation, devoutly to be wished, to die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. For, in that sleep of death, what dreams may come, when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that the patient merit of unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietus make with a fair bodkin? Who would Fardels bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death, undiscovered country, from whose bourne no traveler returns, the puzzles the will, and makes us rather bear those ills we have than to fly to others that we know not of? The conscience does make cowards of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is sickled, or with the pale cast of thought. And enterprises of great pith and moment with disregard, their currents turn away, and then lose the name of action. Soft you now, the fair Ophelia, nymph in thy orisons, be all my sins be remembered.
Good my lord. How does your honor for this many a day?
I humbly thank you. Well.
My lord, I have remembrance of yours that I have long longed to redeliver. I pray you now receive them.
No, not I. I never gave you aught.
My honored lord, you know right well ye did, and with them words of so sweet breath composed as made the things more rich, their perfume lost. Take these again, for to the noble mind rich gifts wax poor when givers prove unkind. There, my lord.
Are you honest?
My lord.
Are you fair?
What means your lordship?
That, if you be honest and fair, your honesty should admit no discourse to your beauty.
Could beauty, my lord, have better commerce than with honesty?
Aye, truly, for the power of beauty will sooner transform honesty from what it is to a bawd than the force of honesty can translate beauty into his likeness. This is sometime a paradox, but now the time gives it proof. I used to love you.
Indeed, my lord. You made me believe so.
You should not have believed me, for virtue cannot so inoculate our old stock, but we shall relish of it. I loved you not.
I was the more deceived.
Get thee to a nunnery. Why wouldst thou be a breeder of sinners? I am myself indifferent honest, but yet I could accuse me of such things that it were better that my mother had not borne me. I am very proud, revengeful, ambitious, with more offenses at my beck than I have thoughts to put them in, imagination to give them shape, or time to act them in. What should such fellows as I do crawling between earth and heaven? We are errant knaves, all, believe none of us. Go thy ways to anothering. Where's your father?
At home, my lord.
Then let the doors be shut upon him, that he may play the fool where no one but in his own house. Farewell.
Help him, you sweet heavens.
Oh, if thou dost marry, I'll give thee this plague for thy dowry. Be thou chaste as ice, as pure as snow. Thou shalt not escape calumny. Get thee to a nunnery. Go! Farewell! Or, if thou wilt needs marry a fool, for wise men know well enough what monsters you make of them. To a nunnery. Go! And quickly, too. Farewell.
Heavenly powers, restore him!
I have heard of your paintings, too, well enough. God has given you one face, and you make yourselves another. You jig, you amble, you lisp, and you nickname God's creatures, and make your wantonness your ignorance. Go to, I'll no more on it. It hath made me mad. I say, and we'll have no more marriages. Those that are married already, all but one, shall live. The rest shall keep as they are. To a nunnery, go!
Oh, what a noble mind is here o'erthrown. The courtiers, soldiers, scholars, eye, tongue, sword, the expectancy and rose of a fair state, the glass of fashion and the mold of form, the observed of all observers, quite down. And I, of ladies most deject and wretched, that sucked the honey of his music vows, now see that the noble and most sovereign reason, like sweet bells jangled, out of tune and harsh. That unmatched form and feature of blown youth is blasted with ecstasy. Woe is me to have seen what I have seen, and see what I see.
Love? His affections do not that way tend, nor what he spake, though it lacked form a little, was not like madness. There's something in his soul, o'er which His melancholy sits on brood, and I do doubt the hatch and the disclose will be some danger, which for to prevent I have in quick determination. Thus set it down. He shall with speed to England for the demand of our neglected tribute. Haply, the seas and countries different with variable objects shall expel this something settled matter in his heart, whereon his brains still beating put him thus from fashion of himself. What think you on it?
It shall do well, but yet I do believe the origin and commencement of his grief sprung from neglected love. How now, Ophelia? You need not tell us what Lord Hamlet said. We heard it all. My lord, do as you please. But if you hold it fit after the play, let his queen mother all alone entreat him to show his grief. Let her be round with him, and I'll be placed, so pleased, in the ear of all their conference. If she find him not, to England send him, or confine him there. Your wisdom best shall think.
It shall be so. Madness and great ones must not unwatched go.
I'm muted, but I was clapping.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that play ends with another like key line, you know, that timeless expression, madness and great ones must not unwatched go. Not that that's part of our common vernacular or anything, but and then to be or not to be, like I was like, how do I translate to be or not to be? Like what I enjoyed though, Ryan, feel free to step in, but I
No, go for it.
to see this interpretation of the original text, because our actors, we had talked about that there's so many different ways to play these characters and to play this scene, and they did our modern interpretation of the characters but on the original text, and so I got to see the original text in a way that I have not seen anyone portray it, and that I think is perfectly apt, if not more so. That's a little bit blasphemous to all the British actors out there, but I'm proud of what we've done.
Listen, there is no such thing as that kind of blasphemy when it comes to Shakespeare. Shakespeare has been adapted several ways into several different plays, into several movies and music, and many other things. So blasphemy is if you didn't even know, well, I don't even know what the blasphemy is. Like, I don't know how you can blaspheme Shakespeare. Now I feel like I want to. Like, what? How do you blaspheme Shakespeare? We already know it's a lot of sex jokes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there wasn't a lot of that in this play that I came across, at least in these scenes. So I was like, oh, I really hope I live up to the Breaking Bard standard here. There was like very few pop culture references, and I wanted more of them. Mm-hmm. But I found a joy in finding a variation of this play that I don't think anyone has done yet. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I loved it. I loved getting to do our little self-absorbed little teenage shit Hamlet, telling his girlfriend that you can't dump me. I dumped you first, and it's great. It's good stuff.
All right. I guess it's now time to show what the adaptation looks like. So, Act 3, Scene 1.
And can you, without blaming the weather, get why he has been acting so confusing, just doom scrolling so harshly through his downtime with wild and dangerous conspiracy?
He admits he feels sort of distracted, but he won't tell us what's bothering him.
It's not like he wants to be tested. He's good at avoiding all our questions when we try to wring out some confession of what's going on.
Did he greet you well?
He was a gentleman.
But he was forcing it.
Never asked how we were, but we'd ask him, and he always replied.
Did you go do stuff? Take him anywhere?
Gertrude, it just so happened that these performers we crossed paths with, we told him about them, and it seemed like he cheered up, kinda. Come to think of it, they might be around, because I think they've already been hired tonight to do a little play in front of him.
Oh, it's true, and he asked me to invite you two to come see the show.
From the bottom of my heart, it makes me so happy to hear this. You guys, Give him more of a reason and remind him the whole point of this entertainment.
We will, sir.
Gertrude, babe, you head out too. Because we've told Hamlet to come here, so he, like an accident, might bump into Ophelia. Her father and I, admissible spies, will remove ourselves so that we can monitor without being seen. Maybe we can honestly evaluate their meeting and sort out how he's behaving. If it's being in love or not that's hurting him.
If you say so. And you, Ophelia. I hope that your good looks are the reason for Hamlet's weirdness. Like, I hope your good heart will bring him back to his usual self. For both your sakes.
Gertrude, I hope it does.
Ophelia, come here. Now, sir, if you'd like, we will remove ourselves. Now, read this self-help book so that it looks like you're all alone. We've all done it. Nobody knows it. That by devoting ourselves to new resolutions, we sugarcoat our worst habits. Huh?
So true. The adage does a number to my conscience. The rashes on a drug addict's face covered with makeup are just as ugly underneath as the actions I'm covering with flowery language. What a chore.
I hear him coming. Let's go, sir.
New post. Exist or don't exist? Question mark. That is the only choice. Period. Whether we think it's more honorable to endure the sticks and stones of rage-inducing misfortune, comma, or take action against the world of trouble by refusing and end it all. Question mark. Die. Sleep. Period. No. Ellipses. Same thing. And by only sleeping, we end the heartache and million other jabs the body is prone to. It's a conclusion to honestly pray for. You die. You sleep. You sleep. Maybe you dream. Yeah, that's the catch. Sleeping in a grave. What dreams would we have when we walk away from this twisted life? It makes us take a moment. There's the concern that makes disaster stretch a whole lifetime. Who would take life's beatings and disrespect? The 1%'s deceit, the Proud Boys slurs, the pangs of rejection, the law's standstill, the sham of politics, and all the snubs that selfish people drop onto the patient. When you could just draft your own settlement with a letter opener. Who would force themselves to groan and sweat for an exhausting life without the fear of something after death? The unexplored realm of a multiverse no one returns from. It boggles the mind and makes us accept our problems instead of heading off to ones we might not know. So conscience makes us all into cowards. And then our fashion for resolution is toned down by a dull veneer of thought and endeavors of great stature and importance. With this in mind, their plans change direction and then stop being actions. Wait a sec. Ophelia, Angel, pray for me and remember all of my sins.
Hi, Hamlet. How have you been the last few days?
Thank you for asking. Well.
Hamlet, I have some things of yours you left that I've been meaning to give back to you. Please, take them.
No, not me. I never gave you anything.
Your Majesty, you know full well you did. And with them sweet flowery notes you wrote to make the stuff more thoughtful, all dried up. Take them back. They say thoughtful gifts don't work when the giver proves he's really a jerk. So, there, Hamlet.
Are you a good girl?
Excuse me?
Are you pretty?
What do you mean by that?
That, if you're good and pretty, your goodness should have no relation to your attractiveness.
Couldn't attraction, Hamlet, have more to do with virtue?
Sure, because the power of attraction will turn a good girl into a hooker sooner than the promise of virtue can convert attractiveness into being decent. This was misleading for a while, but now it makes sense. I used to love you.
That's right, Hamlet. You had me believe you.
You shouldn't have believed me. Virtue can't graft itself onto our rotten parts because we will taste it. I never loved you!
I was misled.
Get yourself a Catholic school uniform. Why would you make with sinners? I, myself, am casually virtuous. But I could still accuse me of some things that it'd be better if my mother never gave birth to me. I'm so proud, vengeful, ambitious, with more malice at my beck and call than I have ideas to put them in, imagination to realize them, or time to act on them. What are guys like me even doing creeping around between heaven and earth? We are total criminals, all of us. Don't believe any of us. Go find a uniform. Where's your dad?
At home, Hamlet.
Lock him in, so he can only play dumb in his own house. Bye.
Send help, sweet Jesus.
If you do marry, I'll give you this problem for your gift. You can be as cold as ice, as pure as snow. You still won't escape a bad reputation. Get yourself a uniform. Go! Goodbye. Or, if you need to marry, marry an idiot. Since wise men know you'll make them into cocks. A uniform. Go! Hurry up! Bye!
Dear God, fix him.
I've heard about your makeup too. All too well. God gives you one face, and you make yourselves another. You prance, you flaunt, and you baby talk, and mean words for animals, and pretend you don't realize your affectations. Go away. I'm over it. It drives me crazy. I say we should have no more marriages. Those that are married already, except the one, can stay. The rest of us will keep to ourselves. Get your uniform. Go!
What an impressive mind he has lost. The counselors, soldiers, mentors, mind, voice, skill, the successor and face of the business, the trendsetter, the perfect model, influence of all influencers. Wrecked! And me. Of all the depressed, worthless girls that ate up his sweet-sounding promises, now see that awesome and superior wit is like music that went offbeat and harsh. That perfect face and hair of an idol, ruined by crazy. Sucks to be me, to have seen him and to have to see what I see.
Love? His feelings are not inclined that way. Neither is what he said, though it lacks structure like insanity. There's something going on in which his sadness incubates ideas, and I fear the hatching and exposing will lead to danger. And to prevent it, I have some quick decision making. So write it down. He will rush off to Napa to demand the delinquent rent owed to us. Hopefully the different countryside setting with various things to do will drive out this somewhat fixated matter at hand firmly on his mind, putting him like this fresh version of himself. What do you think?
It should do well, but I still think that the origin and beginning of his grief comes from ignored love. Oh, hi, Ophelia. You don't need to tell us what Hamlet said. We heard it all. Yes, sir, do what you like, but if you think this works, After the show, let his boss, or mother, get him all alone and share his feelings. Get her around him, and I'll hide there if you want, listening to them converse. And if she can't figure him, send him upstate and lock him wherever you think best.
We'll do it then. I'm on board. Egos losing their grip can't be ignored.
Okay, that last line, we'll do it then, I'm on board, egos losing their grip can't be ignored, is such a great line. Oh my God, that's so good.
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna give credit where it's due, and Joe Crandall helped me refine that line. For me, my original version was big shots losing their grip can't be ignored, and it just didn't sound quite right. So thank you, Jen. Yeah, this was, whoops, pull the plug out from my computer. This was the last part that I had gone through. I did several passes on it, but there were still a couple of lines that I just didn't quite have, and so I think in this piece, act especially, like every character helped me fix a line, because it was so hard to keep it all in iambic pentameter as well. Yeah, there were times when I was like, oh, I really don't need all these syllables, and there were times I was like, I could use a few more syllables, but they helped me make it all work.
I mean, I cannot believe you did a lot of this in iambic pentameter. Like, that stuns me. For me, like, even though I know I could, for me, it's like, it's just so difficult to bring it to modern language, keep it with that pentameter, because not everything, and you also have to, like, interpret and reinterpret things and expressions of the bard to something that's the equivalent of this language. So you made it, like, extra tough. You gave yourself extra credit. That's what you did.
I did. I am so extra, right?
You are so extra.
But I mean, that was me trying to follow along with the mission statement for Breaking Bard, which is to give the Shakespeare experience just in a way that people find more, I guess, palatable, or just easier to follow along to, or you don't have to think about it too hard. Mm-hmm. But I didn't, like, part of that experience is that he was able to create this musicality with the language, and in this play it was especially important because of all of Shakespeare's works, this one had the least amount of pentameter used in it, but when it happened, I think it was strategic in letting us know when characters are starting to kind of lose their cool in one way or another. So it's part of the experience of Hamlet. I just didn't want to lose it.
Let's bring everybody let's bring everyone into the room. Amazing job, everybody. Woo!
Yeah, this cast is great.
Seriously, great job. Could you hear me audibly, like, chuckle when Hamlet showed up on screen and you were wearing that muumuu? My mic was on, and I went, okay, good. No one heard me.
I almost went into the chat and we were like, muumuu, it's so on, but I didn't want to, like, distract.
You can thank Jenna for this. Jenna,
yes, excuse me. It's my costume designer professional muumuu. So,
like you're putting on for your Alexis Rose as her Ophelia was. I mean, well done.
That sweet spot of trying not to go too crazy. I don't know how Annie Murphy, the actress who plays Alexis, does it, because she manages to get Alexis so genuine while having all of these heavy affectations, and it's really, really hard to balance that, for sure.
I appreciate all the little touches each one of you did for your respective characters and versions of characters. That was really cool. It was really cool, guys.
I want to go around the room and see if there was, I'm going to ask either A, was there anything that you learned that was new about Shakespeare or Hamlet about this process? Or B, did you have a favorite line or moment that you really enjoyed? I'm going to start off with Randy.
I kind of figured it might come quick, so I picked B because there was a line that really stuck out to me the entire time, which is the Hamlet doing all the doom scrolling. It's like that line was just like when that came together, I was just like, oh yes, I love this, and I think it really painted, like, it made sense for the version of Hamlet that we saw in this play, like that being sort of how he's spending all of his time and looking at conspiracies and crazy stuff. Like, yes.
Like even chat alluded to it. Like the moment they said doom scrolling, they're like, "Yep, Hamlet would doom scroll." Like totally.
Again, credit where it's due. That was the cast. I don't remember what parts of those lines were given by whom, but
I think that was that was a consensus, if I recall correctly. We're like, yes, no, he would be doom scrolling.
yeah,
That's kind of what happened.
we were talking, like, I remember that Joe was saying, like, oh, he's putting his own future in jeopardy, and then we just all started talking about it, bouncing off each other, and I just started writing down buzzwords, and then when someone said doom scroll, it was the last thing I wrote. I was like, okay, I will find a way to work that into that line, and it made it 1,000 times better. And to me, that one line, what a great answer, Randy. That line, like, almost reaffirmed the contextualization of Hamlet in the 21st century, because spouting conspiracy theories because you've been spending too much time on the internet and going crazy for it is more appropriate now than it was in Shakespeare's time. So
yeah, absolutely. Jenna, so your thoughts? Anything that you learned doing this process, or did you have a favorite moment?
Yeah, I really feel like Kevin unlocked Ophelia for me, because I've always enjoyed her as a character, particularly for her later scenes. Like, her madness is always really fun for me to hear, and kind of like her, like, if one can play, like, the first scene of her, can be played very playfully in the original text as well, especially with blocking, and it's like that still does read the overbearing dad and everything. But then the anytime she's with Hamlet, I struggle with it, because I'm like, who is this girl that is just kind of taking everything from him, and you just feel so bad for her, and you feel so awful that Hamlet's doing this to her, and it's so uncomfortable. And so it's like, how do you reconcile that? And so I think by, like, Kevin instantly had the idea, like, no, we are going to make a self-possessed Ophelia. She's, and he even described it like she's on the board. I mean, yes, it's kind of because of nepotism, but, like, she is a, maybe like a Kardashian-esque, like, entrepreneur, like, and so with that, she has self-possession. And so, so that really, like, coming at it from that lens, and so then it was fascinating to do a cold read of the original text with that lens in mind, because it just felt so much more like the nunnery scene had a lot more, like, power and equalness. Even though he is yelling at her, there's, like, it's not just, you're not just, like, cringing away from the whole scene. Like, I would love to see you also adapt, like, the Hamlet Gertrude bedroom scene, which also to me is, like, super cringe. And so to, like, find a way to, like, because Hamlet needs strong opposites in his solo scenes, and so I really feel like with the modern text and with this adaptation, she's really, like, come into her own as a character and as a person.
Next, I want to go to.
I promise I won't speak after every single person. I promise, but I got to speak on this because, Ryan, from the first conversations we had about this, you know how strongly I felt about Ophelia and wanting to give her onus. And the only reason I did not do the scene in which she's dishing out the flowers is because I haven't cracked that code yet, and I got to do it justice. I've got ideas. Maybe she's got ingredients. She's doing a lot of fennel and stuff, cardamom, or she's having an imaginary tea party. But I got to figure out, like, which Aven, I got to talk to you about what teas have significant meanings.
Maybe she has essential oils.
Oh, she totally would.
If you want to go new age crazy thing, essential oils is. That's.
But yeah, one day I'm gonna figure out those scenes, because, like, my favorite version of Gertrude is the one where they give her the onus to, like, take the wine and make the decision for herself. And the one thing I got to keep from all of my opinions about wanting to adapt Hamlet was that Ophelia is not crazy. She knows exactly what she's doing, and she's gonna own the room when she walks into it. So thank you for delivering on that.
I also like that change as well, because I've never liked Ophelia as a character previously, because it's like she's so passive, but this version of it, having an active Ophelia, makes everything a lot more bearable. You're like, oh yeah, no, she's not gonna take any shit.
I have literally never seen this version of Ophelia, and I'm down for it. I've just never seen this, and it was so, like, I was kind of stunned as I saw Jenna's delivery of it, and I'm like, even though it's like, it's not that many words, and I'm like, huh, I never thought that, because, like, I also am not a huge fan of Ophelia, because I always think wilting flower the entire time, and this was not, and I'm like, oh, wow. Now I understand, Kevin, about why you have to kind of crack the code, because if you have a strong Ophelia, what happens to the rest of the scene? Why is she, what's her headspace when she gets everywhere else? It's really cool.
She was really hard to adapt, if I'm being honest, and not in the sense that, I mean, I found the literal translation for those lines, but because I was so determined to give her the onus and the ownership of her own identity, that I didn't want to translate the lines into something that could only be interpreted as a passive character. And so honestly, y'all, because I did my job of translating it as genuinely as I could, it was all on Jenna and Aliza for Gertrude, of making those characters the strong women that they can be. It's not in the text, it was all in their performances.
I wanted to go to Aliza. Was there anything that you learned about this process, or did you have a favorite scene that you wanted to share?
Okay, my favorite scene, I even said it in our personal chat during it, was the Get Thee to a Nunnery adaptation. I thought that played so well. Like, the performance, you guys, like, were amazing performing that scene. And the adaptation itself, like, the text you put under that, and Kevin, like, I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was a brilliant, like, reworking of the text, and I just thought that blew my mind. I was like, this is awesome.
I was so nervous about that one because I thought it was really clever, but I was like, I don't know if anybody else did.
Super clever. It's just great. And I kind of want to see this whole version of Hamlet, like, because the way you've adapted it is very juicy, and it's not a shtick. Because, like, I'm kind of weird about, like, I love Shakespeare, but I don't always jive with Shakespeare adaptations, to be honest, because I think sometimes they're too earnest and they go too far away from, like, the core themes, because they want to, like, overlay their theme and their ideas. It's like, we're in a 1920s jukebox, but that part doesn't make sense, so we're just not going to do that part. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
But I don't think you did that here, and I think you've really found a way to, like mine those core themes while also making it work for your adaptation. And that scene, like, to me was like the biggest example of that.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much.
Joe, what did you learn about, was there anything that you learned about doing this particular process of adaptation, or was there a favorite scene that you wanted to share?
I feel like to answer that question, I just have like one answer. The last scene, the Get Thee to a Nunnery scene, I feel like, you got Mel Gibson, you have David Tennant, you have Ethan Hawke, like all these different versions of Hamlet. And the one that really sticks out in my mind is the Mel Gibson one, and he's just crazy the whole time. And I feel like every time I've seen Hamlet, he's either just been completely crazy or completely depressed and nothing else. And like played like Ophelia usually is in the flower scene, just kind of like lost, and it's not really there. People are just like, so what was me, like scene kid. And I feel like reading it in the modern language really helped illustrate, he actually does have a train of thought, and he does, like, you can follow it, and it's not just coming out of nowhere. It's you can see how he's internally, like, the engine is going, and he's producing these thoughts and ideas rather than just flowery language, get thee to a nunnery, and the turn of, are you fair, are you beautiful, I loved you once, I never loved you. Like, there's, like, you can see, like, it's coming from a place. And so I'm really interested to see, like, if one was to sit down and, like, really hammer out this, like, spend as much time in rehearsal process using a modernized version of the text to really get a hold of it, and then going back and doing the original text to see how much more people and audience would understand. Because, like, a lot of people don't get Hamlet or any Shakespeare play sometimes because it's not presented in a way that you can understand where people are going. And I think that it would really help if you know exactly what you're saying and everything. And that's my time. Thank you very much.
Joe, you said exactly the reason why I started this series. Like you said, exactly, this is why I started this series, because so many people think Shakespeare is not accessible. That's only for a certain type of person. And when I say certain type of person, it could be whether it's certain type of class of person, but it could also be, the number of people who have kind of went, like, you're not white, you're not British, and you're how would you ever attempt to do Shakespeare? At least in my own head. No one's actually ever told me these things, but for the longest time, I thought it was horrible for me as a person of color to enjoy Shakespeare. I thought, like, that was not allowed to me.
White people.
Exactly. But I also
David Tennant and Mel Gibson.
Right, but I also know that there's a reason why, like, it's lasted for over 400, 500 years. It's because a lot of these themes are very human, are very relatable, and also with the comedies, they're also pretty dirty, and body kind of like lasts a long time. But also you have things like Hamlet, and I could be wrong. I think Hamlet was written like I think shortly, like was one of the first three plays after Shakespeare's son died. I think that's what, and that affected so that's when a lot of the tragedies came out, or like the first tragedies came out, like Hamlet and like thinking about life. So everything that Shakespeare wrote was comedy because he was working with a troupe, and it was at the Globe. And then his son died, and then literally it was just tragedies for a while. And then I think, Hamlet, which of course closely named after his son, Hamnet, was probably like one of the things that that affected like what William Shakespeare's thought was at the time. Like, I could be wrong. I do know that the tragedies were written at a certain time, and I think it was shortly after his son died.
One thing I wanted to piggyback off of what you guys were just talking about was that I think it was especially awesome to have a version that was still in iambic pentameter, because like the No Fear Shakespeare's or modern adaptations or things like that, like you lose so much of the poetry. And I'm sorry if my internet's connection is kind of getting bad, but if you can get the gist, you lose so much of the poetry of Shakespeare, which I feel like it flows so well when it's still in iambic pentameter. And so, and even like you were talking about, if you wrote it all out in normal, modern day speak, and then rehearsed it that way and then went back, I think it would be super helpful for content. But this was even more helpful because you could still have the line cadence and the flow of.
Oh, there it went.
Oh no.
I was getting the gist though.
Yeah. Oh no. Okay. I think let's get back to Jenna. Hopefully she reconnects. Next, I want to go to Zack. Zack, was there anything that you learned about this process, or was there a favorite scene that you had? Like you were great, by the way. It's like you were like such the oh my god, you're like the doting uncle and dad. Is like you want to do this, but you have to be careful of this. it was adorable.
That made me respect Polonius. I never really respected that character before.
Yeah, well, that is, and here's, I've been racking my brain the whole time to think of a favorite thing to say, and I know she just so sadly left us, but I'm actually really furious at Jenna because she was saying exactly what I wanted to say. That by this translation, Kevin, I'm so impressed by it, by returning the poetry to it. That for modern translations so quickly, like that's the first thing you get rid of. And I think it's something that's so important to Shakespeare because it's literally all of his works is that he is the musicality and the cadence and the fact that we have you've made a modern version that holds on to that really in all of the text. I am so impressed, and that's something that I just want to gush about because I'm so happy to have gotten to experience such a brilliant version of something. Classic.
Thank you. I'm glad everyone enjoyed it. That's all that really kind of matters to me.
Yeah, and
it worked. Y'all made it work.
Like I do want to stress to everyone, like for everyone who's been a director, like of the Breaking Bard series, I'm very honored whenever anyone chooses to be here and do their own adaptation of Shakespeare. I just know, like just objectively, the two longest translations was yours and mine. Yours because you decided to do iambic pentameter, and that is, I cannot stress to other people how hard that incredibly is. It's really really hard, and it's like people think that's it's such a casual. It's like no, it's not. It's time. It's so much time. I know there were and I know that I think one of the reasons why it was difficult to cast this show was partly because some of your lines were not ready a little bit, and that's not a fault of yours. Like you were just a perfectionist.
Yeah.
Like
okay, so we were still workshopping it. Aven, when were we going over your monologue, the soliloquy? That was 2 days ago, and we were still adjusting.
that was real recent.
Yeah. 2 or 3 days ago.
I did the original. The way that it wound up was me off the cuff auditioning in the cabin.
Well, okay, so I'm gonna speak onto that.
Oh yes, do.
Yeah. But Aven, you hit it. They found the point where I stopped trying to get the musicality. I was like, I can't keep the rhythm. I can't keep checking that every single syllable lines up like that. I had to stop doing that. Right. And then Aven, they helped me put it back.
A couple
made an adjustment for a word, and then that.
And that's just because I write. I'm a musician. I'm a songwriter, so I write limericks all day. So for me, it's iambic pentameter's not exactly limerick, but they're related.
Yeah.
The structure is they're cousins.
Kevin, you truly channeled the bard when you did that. He always wrote things last minute, right before they had to go on stage. He didn't have to memorize it, so it was fine.
Yeah. Also, just to.
So yeah, right. When you said this was the longest, did you mean in the time it took to finish? Or?
Yeah. No, it's because
okay.
the only reason why my adaptation of Midsummer took long was because everybody else chose really good scenes within a scene, right? I went for entire scenes of I'm gonna do these 4 scenes. Didn't realize I picked the 4 longest scenes of Midsummer to translate. And Midsummer is a long play. Midsummer is, when fully performed, 4 to 5 hours. So I didn't realize that when I translated. I'm like, Wow. I have learned since. I also want to jump to really quickly. The interesting part about casting this with Hamlet was for the longest time we didn't have a Hamlet. We just didn't know who to cast as Hamlet, and we just know that. Well, Kevin said, "Well, Aven did Puck, so I think they could do Hamlet." So then they submitted it, and we're like, "That's Hamlet."
Well, you can say what I really said was that I wanted to give more people an opportunity to play in the Breaking Bard sandbox, and because I had seen Aven do Puck and another role, and I was like, well, they've had their fun. Like I want to give it to somebody else, but when your audition, when I saw it, I was at work and I was like, oh, that's done. We're done. That is it. It was Aven's bright idea to start the monologue, the soliloquy, as a social media post where Hamlet is saying everything out loud and with the punctuation and everything. So that was the time I was like, I'm gonna break the rule. I'm gonna add a line that Shakespeare did not write. New post. We're gonna keep that.
Oh my goodness! Oh, and I wanted to say hi to our raiders like the Liching Hour. Thank you for joining us. You have reached us at the end of Breaking Bard.
Yes, you just missed the show, but we're here for the after party.
Yeah. Oh, Aven, I forgot to ask you. Our Hamlet, what did you learn about the process? I mean, I could ask you about your favorite scene, which is fine, but what did you learn about this process? Did you learn anything new about Shakespeare or like doing things?
I mean, the thing that I learned was framing Hamlet as a dark comedy is a brilliant idea. Because again, this is my least liked of all the Shakespeare stuff that I've read. I actually don't like Hamlet as a show. I feel it's very dry and very boring in all the performances that I've seen. But giving everybody the motivation that they're basically just a bunch of shitty people treating each other real shitty, i.e. Schitt's Creek or Arrested Development or anything like that, it brings a lot of animation and agency to the characters that isn't necessarily there in the original, and it really livens up the room because then everybody's, like you said, the quick pace of being like like someone in my brain I see the camera work like someone opens the door and comes back in and someone it's like, oh, here's Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, where'd they come from? I don't know. So like in my brain, like I want to see that whole show now. I want to see the whole like Hamlet as a fast-paced dark comedy. Just sounds like a good time.
Your interest is an exit during this nunnery bit. I was
Yeah,
literally laughing out loud.
that's Hamlet leaving the apartment door and slamming it behind him. It's like, bye.
And another thing.
I could easily see it translated to the Schitt's Creek hotel room doors. Like he's opening and closing the door between the rooms.
Oh, right, yeah.
Or like
Alexa's just sitting at the table being like, God, just finish what you're gonna fucking say.
Oh god. Oh, actually no. Hamlet being in the shower would be hilarious. It's like he's talking to himself in the bathroom, and all you see is like the curtains opening and closing. They're shouting at each other from the other side of the bathroom door.
She's doing her makeup, and he's like, "Don't paint your face."
Oh,
Get away from me.
that worked too well.
So yes, framing Hamlet as a comedy. That's choice. I like this.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
Pretty much every single rehearsal, we told Kevin that he needs to adapt this into the entire show.
Yeah. I would come back and do it in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
Take some time, but I want to do it. It's gonna take some time.
I had a friend who rewrote the original Avengers movie into a 5-act Shakespeare play over 6 months. So you got to do them one better.
I want to see that though, because it's a 5-act movie, so that works. Yeah.
We might be performing it at some point in LA.
I have this on my shelf the Star Wars in.
Yeah, oh my god, I love those.
And yo, if you guys.
Which we are performing, which I'm gonna plug later.
Okay.
Oh!
I gotta see this.
I got the Back to the Future ones.
Oh, that's
Shakespeare's Back to the Future.
Get thee to the future.
And if you haven't seen it, these are all great. The thing that reaffirmed my trust in Hollywood theater, because when I first came out here and saw the LA theater scene, it put a real bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
But then I saw Pulp Shakespeare, and I was like, okay, there's good stuff to be found. So yeah, we can totally do this. We can totally do this.
As far as favorite scene, everybody's already talked about the nunnery, so I'd feel sad if I talked about the nunnery again. But
good scene.
If it's your favorite,
again, it embodies that whole that whole reframing that I was talking about. Everybody's just, it's a combination of that and the party, the scenes where everybody again is just in the same room, just kind of being shitty to each other. You're like, oh, these are terrible people. I don't like any of them. You're like, yep, that's the roller coaster we're on. Buckle up.
So I kind of wanted to bring things to a conclusion here. But again, thank you all for watching. Thank you to our performers for tonight. This was I never cease to be amazed with any Shakespeare adaptations that I've seen tonight. But as a dark comedy, did not expect it, and I kind of like it more than the tragedy. It's just because it is like Aven said, it's more alive, and it's I get this. I think, and it makes it just a lot more digestible in a certain way. But let's go around the table, and let's find out. Let's plug all our things. I want you to plug your things, and tell us what you're doing next. I'm going to start off with our director Kevin. What are you doing next? And plug all your things.
So, I guess the next big thing I've got in the works is this was my second pandemic project. The first one was friends and I took the ambitious task of writing a workplace comedy in the Star Wars universe, and just like this, it grew out of hand and became a whole thing. So we taped that over August and September. It's in post-production. We're going to be doing a whole Patreon soon, so people can follow along as we drop stuff out. I mean, because it started off with just me and some other talents I've worked with doing theater and such, being like, well, so what's a fun thing that's easy that we can do while we're in quarantine? And by the end of it, we got people from the 501st involved and full costumes and
nice
green screen studio. It was quite the setup. So follow me on social media, I guess, at Instagram at Kevin Allengram or Twitter at Kevin Allen Says, where as soon as I get new information about that, I'll be posting it. There was a couple of horror films that should be coming out soon, I think. And as far as Twitch goes, I'm still trying to figure that one out. I've been trying to play Skyward Sword on Twitch, and I am terrible at both. So I'm working on it.
All right. Randy, where can people find you on the internet? What are you up to next?
Yeah, so people can find me on Twitter at Roller Raja. That's ROLLER or over on Instagram at RAJA012. That's just easier to spell it out. And then basically, I've been doing a lot of Twitch streaming. Just finished a series over on Dragon and Things Network called Harbingers for season 1, where there will be a season 2 of that coming out really soon. So if you follow Twitter, you can see that. And then this weekend, I'm doing a play test of a Savage Worlds game over on Escape Box Games channel. They're doing basically the Animorphs in Savage Worlds, so I get to be an Animorph, which is fucking awesome. So yeah. That's this Saturday.
Never thought about an Animorphs RPG, but it's interesting.
Yeah, it's basic. Yeah, it's cool. I got all my animal morphs. I'm super excited. It's distinctively different from Animorphs right now. They're working with Scholastic to get that eventually, hopefully, maybe. But right now, it's a different thing, but very, very inspired by.
Let's see. Aliza, where can people find you on the internet, and what are you up to next?
Well, I just want to gush about everyone here for a second because, like, oh my God, you're all so talented and so cool. And I want to watch everything that you mentioned and everything that you're doing. I'm now a fangirl of all of you.
Aww.
So amazing. And
Like,
talented.
seriously, y'all are so. I'm just completely, like, overwhelmed with fangirl.
Take that, Dad.
Yeah, seriously. Your parents should all be proud of you, and if they're not, I am. I'm your mom now, and I'm very proud of you.
Yay, Mama Gertrude.
And I want to hear about the Avengers Shakespeare and the Back to the Future and the Star Wars workplace. Oh my God! I'm like, yes, please. Okay, all of that. Anyway. I'm Lisa Pearl. I'm a fangirl, obviously. But yeah, I love nerdy shit, and I'm an actor, and so I love Shakespeare, and so this is just convergence of everything. And my mind is blown.
Glad you were with us.
Yes. I'm an actor, but I also am a professional dungeon master and game master and TTRPG player. And that's what I do. That's my job right now while I go on auditions or wait for auditions to show up in my inbox.
That sounds like a horrible day job.
It's not even gonna front. It is the best, and I am grateful every day that I get to do that as my work. A lot of the work I do is streaming, so I do a lot of private games, but you can see a lot of my games on the interwebs, on Twitch. So what's currently running right now is that I'm halfway through running a Call of Cthulhu 4-shot over on Becca Scott's channel, Good Time Society, and it takes place in 1940s Puerto Rico, and half of my family is from Puerto Rico. And so I just wanted to kind of like mine my family history for settings. And that's kind of what I'm doing probably for the next, the next chapter of my storytelling. Want to tell stories in the places that my family is from. And so 1940s Puerto Rico, we're telling a creepy, scary Call of Cthulhu monster ghost story. We're halfway through it. It's Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific on the Becca Scott channel. And I'm also going to be playing soon in I think a 3-shot over on the Fandom Tabletop channel. We're playing the Cortex RPG system, the official Tales of Zadia setting for that system. I've gotten to play it several times now. I love it. It's a great system. And also the Tales of Zadia is like the Dragon Prince official setting for TTRPGs, and it's so fun to play in that world. If you watch the show, it's such a lovely show, and getting to play in that world is just such a treat. And so that's going to be in December on Thursdays, and I'll be tweeting about that. And then what else? Oh, I'm also running a weekly D&D 5e campaign called Lords of Faerun, and that's Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. on twitch.tv/Kira858. And it's very fun. We have lots of dragons in that game. So when Fizzbands came out, we had already started a few months already, and then that came out, and I was like, more dragon stuff? Okay. Just sprinkling more dragons all over this campaign. But yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. And you can find me at Aliza Pearl, so ALIZA Pearl, like Pearl, Pearl, on Instagram and Twitter. It's the same. And if you're interested in seeing my actorly stuff, on my Instagram, I have a whole video series of just me doing random monologues and things here and there. And also, I should probably put my reels and other clips in there. I'm going to do that. Now that I say it out loud, I'm going to do that. But that's me in a nutshell. Thank you so much. This has been so fun.
Thank you. Next, we're going to go to Jenna. Jenna, where can people find you on the internet, and what are you up to next?
Yeah. Well, first, I wanted to return the compliment to Aliza because obviously everything that they just listed is absolutely incredible, and I also want to watch. So a lot of mutual admiration here. So I'm I have been mostly acting as a hobby. I am a professional costume designer and illustrator. So you will find me pretty much everywhere as Jenna Illustrates. I don't have a Twitter, but every other form of social media / my website is jennaillustrates.com. Linktree, Jenna Illustrates, you'll find all of the sites. But I will be posting periodically when I am involved in acting and improv events. I'm part of the Labyrinth Masquerade Ball performers every year. Yeah, so for acting stuff, I'm trying to expand some Twitch. I think I'm also going to be, I do have Twitch at Jenna Illustrates. I'm going to be doing more, I've done some art streams. So if that's your jam, if you'd like to watch someone do some art, if you find that, therapeutic or instructive, I am doing art streams, probably like, I think Thursday evenings is when I'm kind of gonna settle down on, and also if you would like any art commissions, this is a D&D heavy crowd. I'm very much leaning into D&D character commissions. If you go on jennaillustrates.com/commissions, you can find my pricing and all of that, because it's always so awkward to ask a person like, can I afford this? I put all the pricing on my website, so we can avoid all that.
Smart.
And yeah. So, and the Shakespeare Avengers / Star Wars. We hope to put on live. I've been doing it with on Zoom with some of my friends and some of the crowd of Curie, some of the people that do a lot of stuff on your channel, Ryan. But we hope to put on a production in person outside in late January. So because of the holidays, too busy. So late January, probably Griffith Park or Park in Burbank. Probably going to do the Shakespeare adaptation of Star Wars: A New Hope. It's going to be free. And I will spread more information about that when it comes closer to the time.
Yes.
And hopefully, if that's popular, we'll do the Avengers one after that, for sure.
Nice.
I'm in.
Wow. Joe.
That's awesome.
Joe, what are you up to next, and where can people find you on the internets?
Okay, you can find me on the internets at Joe Crandall on Instagram, and I guess on Twitter, but I think I've tweeted 3 times in my life. And I can't get my mom to follow me.
Oh!
She's like, I already know
there,
you,
buddy.
Yeah. My website is joecrandall.net because apparently it's .com was taken by somebody.
Oh, yeah.
I think an ex of mine, trying to get back at me.
Oh my God! You poor man.
That's really smart revenge. I'm sorry.
I don't hate her. I just wish I thought of it first. I'm an actor. I'm in December. I'm flying to Austin for a feature where I get to play a zombie who's an ex of somebody. So that'll be fun. And then you can see my work in. I also, by day, I do props as my day job. So you can see my work in the new show Abbott Elementary, which is coming out on ABC in December, I believe. It'll be in Hacks Season 2 on HBO Max, and then you'll see a bunch of my props and stuff in Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange, which is reshooting more. I also do 3D printing, so if you guys who do D&D and stuff want some minifigs or want like your own things, just some terrain, let me know. I got the large format resin printer, high detail, quality stuff.
And then I'll paint them for you. We could be
look at
Synergy.
Because I am farsighted, and when I try to paint, I just so
just dry brush
sounds
everything.
great.
You'll be fine.
Yeah. I do that, and I get no paint on that. It just ends up on the cat.
I'm surprised to hear that because your paintings I've seen you do so far have been really good. Your painting work. Like,
Yeah, but my eyesight's gone to shit
Oh, okay.
from doing those paintings.
Got it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Joe, are you at liberty to talk about the thing you filmed on Tuesday yet, or you would just keep that quiet for now?
I have to keep that quiet for now.
Okay.
Understood. Many of us understand the NDA process. Zack.
Moving on.
Oh, sorry. Zack, where can people find you on the internet, and what are you up to next?
If anyone wants to find me either on Twitter or Instagram, I don't post much, but sometimes when I do, it's both are at my work here is dumb, DUM. I am by trade a comedian more than anything else. I do stand-up comedy around LA. I'm between gigs right now. I don't have any projects to report at the moment, so I'm a free agent. Every working person here. I don't know. I want to do things.
Good.
I'm not doing anything right now.
Good to know. We have an available comedian, talented. Many of us here who are in this Zoom room can attest to this fact. Definitely plays a good old dad, Zack. Zack,
Among other things.
Yes.
Sure. That's me right now.
Let's see.
I can attest to Zack. I'm so sorry. You were taken off before everything went to shit and they closed all the bars and clubs that you would do stand-up comedy at.
Absolutely true, but I'm getting back in.
Absolutely taking off.
Now that they're opening again.
Nice. Let's see. Aven, what are you up to next, and where can people find you on the internet?
Hi, I'll try to keep it short because I know we've been doing this for a while. I am the bard of many things, as many people can attest to. Except for on Twitter, then I'm just the bard of many because there's not enough characters. Most active on Instagram. I am also Mentha Designs, which is a graphic design, video production, sort of like freelance gig that I have. And we make board games, namely Cantankerous Cats and Prosperity is the new one, which I think a couple of you here have actually backed. And that is probably going to be launching in March. We're caught up in the whole, COVID snafu. Shipping is ridiculously, ungodly expensive right now. So that's that. That's a whole TED Talk. But yeah, hopefully I'll have my first copy by next month when I will be at PAX Unplugged. So if you want to find me, you're going to be in Philadelphia next month. I will be with Magia Games, which is our manufacturer, and I might be visiting the Breaking Games booth because they're our distributor for Cantankerous Cats. And you can hit me up and maybe get a copy of your game signs. Also do music as Bard. And I'm trying to get back into this whole acting thing. So that's basically me in a nutshell. Thank you for watching, everybody. This cast is amazing and wonderful, and it has been a joy to work with all of you. And thank you so much, Kevin, for the brilliant adaptation and just being a good director. Super easy to work with.
Oh.
Really collaborative.
Thank you. That's everything I want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you guys were a part of this. I'm glad it worked out so well for everyone. I'm glad this was a good experience. And man, it's been a while since I've been this proud of something. This is just a treat.
And I guess I better do my stuff. I'll be quick. Hi, I'm Ryan.
Right. Brevity's the soul of wit.
Yeah, brevity's the soul of wit. So I'm gonna be brief. Hi, I'm Ryan Omega. I run this channel, Life Action Roleplay. The next thing that you will see is Tuesday. If you did not know, the Vampire the Masquerade audio drama Port Saga did a double release of their episodes, meaning that the entire season is now available for listening. This is important because on Tuesday evening we actually have the Port Saga after show, the AMA, with as many voice actors that we can put in. I think we actually have 12 guests. So we're gonna actually we're gonna talk to everybody about the experience of creating this Vampire the Masquerade audio series. The fact that it went from no notice to suddenly like top 5% downloaded like podcasts, which is insane. But also like after hearing the initial interviews, knowing that Rachel is a real life Malkavian because she has 60 to 80 tracks for a single episode, audio tracks, and that's why it sounds so good. And I'm like, that's insane, but probably like one of the best audio dramas that I've listened to because just the way they do sound design and music as a form of madness is incredible. And it's really good music too. So
what you're saying is we can binge it now.
Yes, you can binge. You can binge it now, and we might even talk about who's gonna be there in part two. But yeah, there's gonna be several people who's going to be join us, including Rachel J. Wilkinson, who's the creator, Dayan Geist, who's the voice of Titus Reed, Riley Silverman, who is the Knott's Primogen Zelda, Andrew J. Landy, who is the Tremere Primogen, Dante Mendoza. I will be there as the Malkavian Primogen, Ezra Knox. And just there's a whole lot of people who are there, and we're just really, really happy and excited. What else? Oh, yes, and working off of my Patreon, which is under Patreon/Life Action Roleplay, you will see my development for a series that is about to happen. It was originally a shitpost, but it's going to happen. It's called Dungeons the Masquerade. It is a perfect cross between Dungeons and Dragons and Vampire the Masquerade. Yes, I have actually blending the mechanics.
Blasphemy!
Yeah, blasphemy! Blasphemy, yes. So we're going to commit this blasphemy.
Trying to turn the tragedy of Hamlet into a comedy, man. You can't pull it off.
And we've kind of realized that it's probably going to be a Dark Ages game because Dungeons and Dragons takes place in they said the near analog is 1400s, and if you put that into vampire terms, that's Dark Ages time, which it's the beginning of the Camarilla, but is not when the Masquerade was activated. I'm like, oh, wait. So I'm like, I'm going to run a story in that game. I still have to figure out how to cast it. And who would be guessing me. Yeah, as a ghoul.
No, I said that's so cool.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, like, you wanted to play a ghoul? Okay.
I have experience playing a ghoul if you do need.
I will definitely keep you in mind.
No. I actually want to be a vampire. If you're gonna cast me in that, I want to be a vampire.
Okay, fine, fair. We will talk. I also have this like other strange idea, but I'm gonna tell my friends here after the camera's off because I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready to spread that yet, but I think it's gonna be hilarious.
Because it's crazier than Dungeons the Masquerade.
It is. I will tell you, and you will go, why aren't you running this? And I'm like, yes, exactly. So, I have a lot of crazy thoughts, but I also kind of like love having my friends do things, especially raising the platform for people who don't normally get the chance to do a platform. And like, if you have ideas for things that you want to do as a show, like, I definitely can listen, and if I can't produce a show for you, I can at least tell you how to go about doing it. So, with that in mind, I want to bid everyone adieu and thank you for attending Breaking Bard's Ew Hamlet. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Adieu.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.